Hello and welcome to a new episode of Voice of Crypto. Voice of Crypto is a podcast where we talk about Web3, blockchain, crypto, and everything which is in the metaverse space. And today we have Kirill with us. Kirill is a very special person whom I have met in last 2 months at least thrice at certain events, and uh, he has been somebody who talks a lot about blockchain, crypto, and use cases of blockchain and on the trust factor. So welcome, Kirill, on the podcast. Thank you for coming in here.
Thank you for having me.
Great, great. So, Kirill, why don't you tell our listeners what you do, what you have been doing, and what has been your journey in Web3? And this I talk to all my guests is that most of the people who get into Web3, there is usually an accident which has happened, and that's why they got into Web3. So, do you remember that accident as well? And please tell us about your journey towards Web3.
Thank you. My journey to Web3 was purely accidental, as may be true with many people. So I was thinking about the changing paradigm of trust. What is trust? Why we trust? Whom we trust? How does it happen? So what is fake? What is not fake? What is true? What is false? And I was thinking in a very practical manner. In terms of customer reviews. When people leave customer reviews, whether it's about insurance or say vacuum cleaners or anything, other people read those reviews and there are a number of problems. People don't really trust reviews because firstly, they know that negative reviews are often deleted because review platforms, they allow companies that reviews are written about to delete negative reviews if they're paid well enough, obviously, which has an element of corruption. And secondly, positive reviews are not terribly trustworthy because they're very, very brief and they are not really informative. Something like, well, it was fine, it was okay, customer service is fine. So what? It doesn't tell me anything. It doesn't tell me a real story. So, and also lots of people who have positive experience, and any company has users, like customers with positive experience, but they don't write anything because they can't be bothered. And that's a real problem for companies. Those silent majority, they are absolutely happy with the service or the product, but they don't write anything. Why? It's a waste of time. So that's another problem. And sometimes when they write, it looks like written by bots, like everything is fine. Actually, bots are writing better than people. And that brings me to the third problem, lots of bots. And I thought how to kill all those problems, like the corruption and the non-informative reviews, and people are being lazy to write reviews, people not fulfilling their civic duty, so to say. So they get excellent service and they don't write about it. And also lots of bots. And I thought that blockchain is the answer. Because if you mint reviews as NFTs, non-fungible tokens, you kill all three problems. A, negative review can't be deleted because it's on blockchain. You kill bots because bots can't mint. It's prohibitively expensive for them. And also, if people can write reviews, they can mint them and they can sell them. People are motivated to write. Even if they know that the chance of selling their review is slim, they would still try because they would hope. And it's not really about money, it's about street cred. If people know that your reviews are being bought for something, even for 50 quid, you get street cred, you get respect, so to say. So that's how accidentally I bumped into blockchain. And blockchain appeared to be an excellent tech stack for that. Excellent. So that was my journey, absolutely accidental.
Awesome, Kirill. And what was your role? I mean, what you used to do in your previous life before blockchain? What has your expertise been in?
I'm a serial founder. I'm actually a cross between a serial founder and corporate warrior. So my first startup was in fintech in mid-90s, but we didn't know it was fintech because the word didn't exist. So we were building fintech equity trading boutique, but we didn't know it was fintech. We didn't know the word. Now we know. So
Right.
and then I went into management consultancy and investment banking and cybersecurity. So and then I started another startup in insurtech, and then another one in edtech. So this is my fourth startup.
Wow. So a serial entrepreneur and who finally found the holy grail blockchain. So Kirill, you speak very passionately about trust and you talk about these. And I think blockchain is as you rightly said, you found the right stack for this passion of yours. Now, if you have to explain blockchain to a layman, let's say you have to explain blockchain to a 6-year-old, how do you explain them in very simple terms?
Right. So assuming this 6-year-old has a smartphone or a computer and they know something about memory, that things are stuck in memory, in a sense. And I would explain, right, you could have a backup, which is great, because if you lose your smartphone in a toilet or something, you have to have a backup copy. And I have a friend who is corporate executive, and he normally has his backup copy in the same briefcase, that's computer, and he's lost it several times. So you're losing your computer and you're losing your backup as well, which is really stupid. But that's what happened in real life. Okay. So you'd better have 2 backups, right? And maybe even 3 backups. Banks used to be required to have at least 3 backups long time ago. But what if you have, say, 1 million backups? It's even better. And if they are transparent so that people could see your backup from anywhere, and also if they consist of blocks, so that when you write yet another block, you can't change previous block. So it brings transparency, and as we say in banking, audit trail. So that's blockchain for you. So lots of backups, and you're writing block by block, so you can't change the previous one. So if so everything will stay forever. So that's blockchain for you.
Wow, that's a simple definition for anybody, and I think lots of kids would be able to relate with this and understand, because they all use these smartphones and they all are always looking for a backup. Great conversations happening with Kirill, guys. Those who are listening to this podcast or who are watching this YouTube, please stay tuned, because I'm trying to extract as much insights, as much knowledge as possible in next 30 minutes from Kirill. So Kirill, I mean, you have been into the blockchain, fintech, and business space. Tell us some moments which you remember, or certain incidents. It could be funny, it could be anything in your crypto journey. In fact, I was talking to Kirill, and I will not take the name of the event, where we were discussing yesterday that he met a lot of people who don't understand crypto. Still, they are talking about something. So any without taking the name, of course, if you would like to enlighten our users as well.
It's very interesting in terms of ambience, because I joined blockchain or Web3 this summer. So, and the ambience is amazing. It reminds me of internet meetups in late 80s, early 90s. The only difference is that back then, most people at the meetups, they were able to configure their own machine at the very least. And nowadays, there is great ambience, great energy, great positive energy at those Web3 meetups. The only problem is most people can't configure their own laptop. And also lots of people, they are not quite sure what would be 2 + 2. So, so the ambience is great, but just lots of people, they still need to learn.
And everybody thinks they are an expert. I think that I have not seen the 80s, 90s journey, but I think everywhere you meet people, everybody's an expert, everybody's a guru, and everybody has reached the level of extreme blockchain in crypto. That's my experience which I have been happening.
Yeah, but the ambience is absolutely great. So I'm mentoring at some accelerators, and no names, but if you compare the atmosphere demo day of blockchain accelerator and some say fintech or insurtech or edtech accelerator, it's a big difference. More people, more investors, and just generally absolutely different ambience. So I'm not saying that insurtech and fintech are becoming terribly boring. They're not, but blockchain is far ahead. And if you look at amount of venture capital money invested in Q3, Metaverse is going up, everything else is going down. And some verticals are going down big time, like for example, supply chain startups, they're going down dramatically, like 80% in Q3. And Metaverse is heading up. Probably the only vertical going up in terms of dollars invested.
Understood. So Kirill, since we're talking about, and I mean, a lot of listeners who listen to this podcast, they are complete newbies who are just entering into this whole world of blockchain. A lot of people still are confused about difference between Web3, Metaverse, blockchain, crypto. They all think it's all is so. A lot of people think blockchain is equal to crypto, Metaverse is equal to Web3. What are your thoughts on differentiating these four different keywords which everybody has been using? What is your definition of these keywords as well?
Right. My definition of Web3 is very simple. It's a paradigm which is different from Web2. In Web2, you interact with other people through intermediaries like Facebook or Shopify, and those intermediaries, they take their cut, which is not fatal. I mean, well, sometimes it's fatal, like Apple would like to have 30% of all in-app purchases, right? So Spotify wouldn't take that much, but they're not only taking the cut, they're also creating barriers. So for example, if you're a young musician on Spotify, the chances are, however good you are, you will be earning like $50 a year, not 50,000, $50 a year. So that's kind of very much a usual thing. So and also they could do anything with you. They could censor you if they are a social network. They can censor your posts, for example. They could do whatever they want as an intermediary. And Web3 would be an answer. Well, it is already an answer. So firstly, everyone could sell to everyone without intermediaries. So this is kind of freedom for creators. Bits of that freedom are on Web2 as well, like Substack. Like some journalists, they left New York Times and other respected media, well, at least used to be respected, and they are earning like $2-3 million just on Substack. They would have never gotten that money as a salaried journalist, even at New York Times. So even on Web2, you could build something that vaguely resembles Web3. But Web3 has a better tech stack, which is based on blockchain. And that makes it much better for the purpose. So theoretically, you could use different tech stack and still build something where everyone is selling something to everybody, theoretically. But it's better to use a proper tech stack like blockchain.
Understood. So Kirill, since you have been into this industry and you have been observing this very closely, you mentor a lot of startups as well. What are your predictions which you see? What are two big things which are happening in Web3 which you see a very big potential in the coming years? What will you bet on?
One thing that worries me, that Web3 will end up exactly as Web2. On Web2, look, theoretically, if he wants to send me an email, in theory, you could configure your email client on your machine absolutely independently of any intermediaries. In theory, you don't need the likes of Microsoft Outlook or Gmail. You could do it yourself on your own machine. And that would be, and I could do the same. And we'll be exchanging emails, you and I, without any intermediaries. So that would be Web3, but without any blockchains or anything. But most people don't do it.
Don't know it, right?
Yeah, most probably 100% don't do it.
I got to know about this today. I had no clue that this could be done.
Yeah. I mean, because it's a hustle. So Web3 might end up with the same thing, because people, for the sake of convenience, they sacrifice their independence in a sense. So what they do, instead of trading cryptocurrencies in decentralized manner and keeping them in decentralized manner, they use centralized exchanges like FTX, because this is convenient. This is nice. The UX is great. I mean, the website looks brilliant. So everything is nice. Well, until they lose all money. So this is the development that I am worrying about.
No, I partially agree.
The same as Web2, with lots of oligopolistic or even monopolistic intermediary.
Right. No, I partially agree with you. And in fact, I was talking to somebody about how everybody is talking about decentralization. But if you see at the end of the day, Binance is something which controls 80% of the market. They have the biggest exchange, they have Uniswap, they have other things as well. They have their own chain. So end of the day, it is still moving towards what we all have been fighting for, that it should not be in certain corporates. But you are right. So I definitely agree with you. And near future, I think this could be a very big solution if somebody can actually create it and if people start thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. And for example, with NFTs, so the biggest platform is OpenSea. And if you create an NFT, theoretically, I could see your NFT on blockchain from my machine, theoretically. But the chances are, if I am lazy, and most people are lazy, maybe 100% of people are lazy, I would use OpenSea. And OpenSea, in theory, I don't know about their algorithm. I don't know about their code. In all probability, they will show me something and they will say, this is your NFT. Shall I believe them or not? So that's the same risk.
Right. So interesting conversations happening, guys, with Kirill, and we are going to dive deeper between the philosophical level, which Kirill talks a lot about, trust and belief. Whom do you believe, whom you don't believe? Because so there is, Kirill, just to give you a context and to a lot of users, there's a very interesting movie which was created 2 years back in India. It's called Aankho Dekhi, and Aankho Dekhi simply means, if I've seen something from my eyes, then only I'll believe it. And it's an amazing story of a man who says, I will not believe anything. I will not hear anything if I have not seen it from my eyes. And I think that's the trust which somebody who has probably been betrayed in a movie, and he starts believing that. So it's a very interesting concept. But as you rightly said, trust cannot be, I mean, obviously I cannot see everything. So I have to create a set of people whom I trust, and then I start building. The whole society is built up on that. So yeah, I think blockchain hopefully will solve this problem as well as we go ahead.
Yeah, and this is very interesting, because this concept of trust, the paradigm of trust, brings us back to ancient philosophy, Plato and Aristotle. And our civilization is built on Aristotle. Isaac Newton and Karl Popper and almost all science is built on Aristotle's idea of experiment, rather than on Plato's ideas about ideal world. So it brings us back to philosophy. So we have to go back and think again from start.
Wow. So we have a huge task on our shoulders to bring back the old lessons of the society and start building a new trust economy.
Yeah, and from practical point of view, people used to trust intermediaries like the parliament, the government, the police, the church. And nowadays people tend to trust peers, like peer-to-peer trust. And the phenomenon of influencers is very characteristic of that. So people trust influencers because influencers have followers. But I would go a bit further. People would trust influencers if there is some monetary metrics involved. Like if those influencers can mint their opinions and can sell them, and somebody is buying them, that tells you a bit more, just the number of followers. So that means people have skin in the game.
Right.
So I think this is the future of trust, of person-to-person trust.
So Kirill, you spoke, and I think we might digress from our topic, but it's okay. I mean, this is an interesting conversation which is happening. Why do you think, I mean, you said that people always trusted their kings, their government, their parliaments, which has been changing in last 2 years. So what do you think is one of the main reasons why this shift is completely happening? And people, I mean, probably you and me, we don't know each other from a lot of years, but I trust you, you trust me. And this is more of a human to human connection. Why do you think this whole system of government politics has changed and people started believing in each other and influencers as well?
I think the reason is that now we have technology that can facilitate it. So in the past, when we had printed papers, who would you trust? You don't know that many people. You probably know personally, well, at the time, you would have probably known personally, perhaps, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 people. But now you can connect to any one of the 8 billion. So I think that's technology. And this technology allows us to disintermediate trust, because those intermediaries, they used to be necessary. Now they are not that necessary anymore. So now we can find whom to trust on blockchain.
Right.
So, and interestingly, I think Elon Musk, with the help of CZ, what he is going to make out of Twitter finally will be very different what he is doing now. So what he's doing now is charging $8 for blockchain. And my hunch, my educated guess, is that in the end, maybe in 2 years' time, what will happen? Maybe they will be charging even a bit more, maybe $20, but people whose opinions are valuable, people who are trusted, they will be paid, not paying. So I think that would happen with Twitter.
So completely towards a creator economy, and I would say not on a TikTok creator economy, but a serious people who people actually trust.
Economy, I absolutely agree. That's what happening on Reddit, for example. Well, on Substack is hopelessly Web 2, and the interface is not great, but it still works. The creators are getting their money, and their opinions are valued. And Reddit, you can get points. And I think from last month, you could convert those points into cryptocurrency, for example.
Correct.
So I think the similar thing will happen to Twitter.
Right. And since we spoke about Elon Musk, Kirill, what are your thoughts on ChatGPT-3 AI moving into Web3? Everybody has been talking about it, and it has gone viral. What are your thoughts on it?
Don't even start me on that. So I attended a Christmas party at the House of Lords, the Committee on AI, and lots of respected people were speaking on ChatGPT. And I had a hunch that none of them had tried on their computer. And all of their speeches could have been written by ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Because interestingly, what I see with ChatGPT just replicates mediocrity. And I don't know about today, but 3 days ago, if you asked ChatGPT what's heavier, a kilogram of cotton or kilogram of iron, you would have gotten the wrong answer.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So this ChatGPT is just replicating mediocrity in a sense. But this is a very interesting question in terms of whose jobs are at risk. When automation started, like for example in banking, because banking is close to my heart, everyone thought, well, with the introduction of ATMs, cashiers' jobs would be at risk. Oh, we're not. They were not. What happened? The mid-level in banking was decimated. I don't know if you remember, but they used to be bank branch managers.
Yes.
Now they are not. They're
Right.
not needed.
Right.
So what is needed? Cashiers
Hmm.
and some people on top
Hmm.
create the paradigms and the rules, and nothing in between. Everything in between could be automated.
Right.
So I
Right.
think that would something that would happen with ChatGPT and other sorts of AI. That people in the middle will be decimated. The jobs in the middle will be decimated.
Right. But we'll still need human intervention for all these things. I mean, you can't completely rely on machines,
Yeah.
or they are more trustworthy. That's a question for you, Kirill. Whom do you think? I think this is a good question. Whom do you think are more trustworthy, machines or human beings?
That's some very
Answer.
good questions. Yeah, I think where we're heading to is some sort of cyborgs. Especially if Elon is successful with his Neuralink, we'll have
Yeah.
cyborgs.
Right. Who knows? Who knows? Elon Musk himself is a cyborg. We don't know, or he's an alien. We don't know. Right. So Kirill, moving onwards, you have worked in banking, and you have understood the whole banking structure, and now you are moving to, I would say, an enemy of banking system, which is crypto, and this. But I'm sure a lot of learnings and logic which work in a fintech world would also be applied to the Web3 world. So is it currently happening, or do you think there's still a big gap here?
Well, it's hard to say, and I mean, I'll just go back to basics. I mean, in terms of cryptocurrencies, what is currency? What is the function of money? As economists would say, there are 5 functions of money, and cryptocurrency is just fulfilling just one of them, means of payment. But means of credit is more important. So, for example, if I'm running a bakery and I need a loan, and you have some savings, you bring savings to a bank, they would pay you, say, 3%, and they would charge me, say, 6% for a loan. And that makes the work very, very simple. So they charge me 6%, they give you 3%. 6 minus 3 is 3. That means that at 3 p.m. they go play golf.
Right.
So, but in cryptocurrency, what they do is, even if they promise you some sort of fixed return, they have nowhere to invest. If I'm running a bakery, I'm not able to get a loan in cryptocurrency.
Right.
So what happens is that they take money and they promise some fixed return, say like 8%, or some outrageous returns like 10%, 12%. And they invest in what is effectively venture capital. So they would invest in tokens. And investing in tokens is very much similar to investing in early stage shares of startups. So that's more or less the same thing, if you think about it. So, and that makes the whole system imbalanced. So some people say that that's the end of it. But anyway, as means of payment, crypto will stay forever for sure.
Right. So it's not going anywhere. People who are holding their Bitcoins, Ethereum, keep holding. Don't yet sell them. It's gonna stay here.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. So Kirill, now too much of philosophy and too much of serious discussion. Let's have a quick round of rapid fire questions. So what it means is, I will ask you a question. I'll give you 2 options. Within a second, you have to answer, and that will be considered as the final answer. No explanation given, just answer it. Right. So are you ready for it?
Yeah, ready. Absolutely, yes.
Great. So let's get started. Web3 or Metaverse?
Definitely Web3.
Bitcoin or Ethereum?
Ethereum.
Is Metaverse fun?
Absolutely.
Are the Metaverse and Web3 the same thing?
No.
Is Web3 all hype?
No.
Will Metaverse replace internet?
No.
Is this the right time for companies to migrate to the Metaverse?
Yes.
How does your portfolio looks like?
I don't have one.
Oh, wow. Any celebrity you wish could enter into the NFT space?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you accept crypto as a payment?
Not yet.
DeFi is a boon or a curse?
I don't know.
Can blockchain be split?
Yes.
Great. Thank you for answering all these questions. And last, I mean, you already answered about an interesting question. Whom do you trust? So, I mean, as we move forward on the podcast, Kirill, you have been into the space and you have been talking to a lot of people. What do you think? I mean, everybody says the future is very bright of Metaverse, crypto, Web3, but from a regulation point of view, how do you see our governments understanding it? Specifically, UK government, are they understanding it? Worldwide, is the acceptance happening? What are the roadblocks which you see, and how it could be solved from a regulation point of view? Your thoughts on this?
Well, I think a regulation will follow the regulation of finance. Like, for example, some basic things. If you take a deposit and promise some sort of interest, the only thing you could do with this deposit is to extend a loan, not to invest in venture startups with this money. So that sort of regulation. So some basics that are kind of common sense. So if common sense had been implemented, just some very, very basic common sense rules, FTX debacle wouldn't have happened.
Right. And you are meeting, I mean, you have been to House of Lords multiple times and you meet government officials as well. What do you think? Are they able to understand what is this technology is all about, or are they even trying to understand it? What are your views on the government side of the business as well?
Right. Well, I think what I see is a good thing, like on the government side and on the legislation side, is that people understand common sense, which is good. They're just a bit slow and lazy to implement it. Because paradigms and common sense are fundamental, I mean, versus technology. So first you have to think in terms of common sense and paradigms, and only then about technology. And they are perfectly suited to do that. They're just slow and lazy.
Right. Which is across all the governments. That's what governments are for. Great. So Kirill, as we come to the end of this podcast, you mentor a lot of startups. So what are your advice to people who are listening to this podcast or watching this YouTube, who are entering into Web3 space? What are your lessons, or what is something which you would like to tell them before they get into Web3?
Right. First of all, it's the right vertical, because as I said, the investment is going up whilst the investment in other verticals is going down. Like health tech is going down, supply chain is going down, just and Metaverse is going up, and Web3 in general is holding well. So, but they are very different subtopics, so to say. There are some protocols and some venture capitalists, like the most savvy ones, who are the most savvy in Web3, like A16Z. They invest in mostly in infrastructure, but infrastructure is deep tech. So it's not everyone's cup of tea.
Correct.
So and other stuff is at the crossroads. Like, for example, digital art NFTs. So they may not survive this winter. Well, nobody knows, but they are obviously questions. So deep tech and protocols are surefire winners. And what are other winners? I don't know. Nobody knows. But definitely the whole thing has a huge promise.
Understood. Now I have two hypothetical questions for you, Kirill. Let's say if I give you a time machine, and if you could go back 10 years back in your life, what changes would you make? And second question is, in the same time machine, if you could go back, if you could go 10 years in the future, where do you see yourself? Where do you see your company? And where do you see the whole industry?
Well, 10 years ago, I was well, all my life, I was alternating between startups and companies. So I should have started my latest startups a bit earlier. So my advice to all wannabe founders to start as soon as possible. Sometimes even dropping out of college occasionally, but definitely dropping out of companies. Because being in a company becomes dangerously addictive. You get a plus job, you get a salary, it's not really demanding. So you have to go out of your comfort zone and start something, and then it will be wonderful. So that's what I should have done 10 years ago, just a bit faster. And in 10 years time, hopefully we'll see, I hope we'll see different paradigm of trust. We'll see people trusting each other. We'll see some prophets and oracles like mini Warren Buffett's in a sense.
Wow.
And that would be a very different world. Maybe we'll be free from fakes, hopefully. So that's where I see the world. And I hope I will make some small input into this.
Right, I think
developing Ribro, which is all about trust, the customer review platform where reviews are minted as NFTs. So hopefully it will be conducive to consumer trust. And maybe at some point, even will apply to government issues like parliamentary democracy, maybe at some point.
Right. So I wish you all the best for your company, Kirill, and I'm sure that the trust and transparency which are your passion, you will bring that to the real world as well. And hopefully in the next 5 to 10 years, we will see a new world which is built on real trust and real transparency. Yeah.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for questions. You forced me to think a bit more about fundamental things like philosophy, because that should be as a foundation of everything, primary to technology.
Right. Thank you, Kirill, for coming and sharing your beautiful insights. And probably we should do one more podcast in which we specifically talk about philosophy of trust and transparency, and then how this whole blockchain can take those ideas into building a new world. So we'll definitely do that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming here. And all the listeners, thank you for listening to this podcast. I'll be back with a new podcast next week. Till then, keep listening to Voice of Crypto and keep listening to yourself. Thank you.